Hey, and welcome to Matt and Jess TV. I am Matt Rose.
And I'm Jessica Bun Bun.
Welcome to our reaction and review for Yellowjackets Season 3, Episode 6. I am pleased to say from the get-go, this is a much better episode than Episode 5. And how wildly inconsistent this season is, where I thought the trial of Ben was really, really good. I thought last week was a total miss on a number of different fronts, but it feels like somehow this show is finding its way back already.
Absolutely. I think everything that happened with Ben, heartbreaking as it was, but the big mystery of what is on the tape is still very much on the table. And we have some theories on what is actually on the tape and why it's going to be as devastating as it is. But also, who are these two people that we saw at the end of this episode? And if they just happen to be kind of hiking through the woods on adventure, then like, why haven't the Yellowjackets hiked their way out? It has always been kind of in the back of my mind where, yeah, they've kind of just settled into life at this point, but they are also like, let's keep Ben alive because he is the bridge out of here. So I'm like, okay, you're in two camps here.
Yeah.
You want a bridge to be able to get out. You guys are claiming you still want to get out. You're doing these horrible things to Ben to be able to get out. But at no point during the springtime, which is months long, you guys have animals that you could turn into jerky, put in a backpack, and start hiking out there. Why is nobody left?
It's so weird. Like, there's clearly a certain amount of people out there who are just fine living this life at this point.
For sure, but there's clearly seems to be people that want the bridge out of here to go back home. So why haven't you tried to leave?
I don't know. I don't know if it's fear. I don't know if it's a lack of knowledge. It is very, very bizarre. But I think more than anything in this past timeline, I'm just glad that we're taking this real significant, interesting step forward with these people who are turning up, because this just rises into what in the world is going to happen? How is this situation going to be unraveled? It is a really, really good, crazy cliffhanger that we are about to get so much more into. Before we do, be sure to hit that subscribe button, because I like to think now we're in the home stretch of Yellowjackets and there's going to be so much more good stuff coming. We don't want you to miss any of our coverage, our theories all about this show. We're also in the home stretch of Severance. We don't want you to miss that. And The White Lotus is in full gear over on HBO.
And we're going to be covering The Last of Us. It is coming up shortly as well here at the channel. So hit that subscribe button. Help us reach the milestone of 70,000 subscribers. We're almost there, and we really appreciate everybody's help. And also, you can follow us over on Patreon. We'll have a link for you below in the description. We are covering over there exclusively The Pit, which is airing on Max, and coming up, Bosch Legacy. It is in its final season. We'll be doing weekly reviews over there as well, and is the only place that you can get those videos. So thank you so much to everyone who has subscribed.
Thank you guys so much. We really appreciate that. And let's just start with these mystery arrivers, because I paused the screen and I was like, okay, I got to figure out who these people are. Like, are they park rangers? Do they have some sort of badge? No badge. I did not see anything on them. The two are wearing different outfits, so it's clearly not some sort of uniform. They're not there in a professional capacity.
Okay, everybody get your tinfoil hats on. This is who they are. They are bird watchers. So we had the whole thing about the tape and the type of tape it is. And we saw Shauna calling, Ty to talk to Van, and it's like, hey, do you have this type of recorder? I've been delivered this type of a tape. And she's like, oh, that's really weird. There's only a couple of types of people that would, have this kind of a tape. And one of the types of people, she said, are bird watchers. And the minute she said that, she was, her whole demeanor changed. She was like, oh no. So I think these two people are on an adventure, bird watchers. They have come into this forest to record their birds, bird sound, their adventures, whatever it is, which tells me that the Yellowjackets are not that far away from being able to be rescued. I think that Ben is the bridge that gets them rescued, because if these two people are birdwatcher adventurers, then they're not that deep into the woods that they cannot get out. And if Ben hadn't died and they hadn't been hooting and hollering and yelling the way they were, these two bird watchers would not have come over there, probably with their maps and their compasses and everything else, to be able to help them get out. I think Ben still is the bridge, and that's the bridge. However, this tape is the thing that is happening there. So they are recording their birds. That's why when we heard the tape, all we heard were the girls hooting and hollering.
Yeah.
They're recording this feast. It is still going to be recording when the girls murder these two people. I think there is a double murder on this tape, and that's why that tape is as important as it is.
All of that just lines up perfectly, because it's just it's hard to really understand another way in which this makes sense, because let's get back to what you said about this. They can't be that deep into the woods at this point, right?
No, they look completely clean. They're just walking around. Looks like they might have a compass on their neck.
Yeah, it's like, dude, we're not talking here about people who are on, I don't know, what's that show, Alone? Like any of these shows where you're like out in the middle of nowhere. These are not like some hyper survivalist people. And
no,
it's clearly who they had this recorder going, and whether it's for birds or whatever else. I like went back and listened to it, and they had this recorder going before they even approached the Yellowjackets. Right. So they were prepared in that sense for whatever they were going to get when they were over there. And so they show up, they see all this, and the immediate like, okay, there's no choice but to kill these people is coming down to the fact that they see Ben. And it's like, once they see Ben, what else can you really do? I don't think they're going to be able to then be like, whoa, 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 hold on a second. We've been out here for a really long time. We need to eat. We're hungry. He's here. They're not going to care about any of that. They're going to be like, we're going to go to the authorities now. Goodbye. Have a nice day.
Absolutely. And especially if they're able to hike in the way that they clearly were hiking in, they didn't just come in from nowhere.
Yeah.
Then they're probably sitting there being like, yeah, you guys might not realize it, but like the exit to this forest is maybe like 10 miles this way. Like you can walk there in a day.
They're going to be killed, and they're going to be killed pretty quickly, because
they have to be.
Yeah, you can't run the risk of something else happening. But this actually does really explain something we've all been struggling with for years on end. This idea of, okay, why are people like Shauna doing what she's doing in the present and not talking about what happened out there? And yeah, we can make a case it's because of Jackie. We can make a case it's because of Javi. But you're like adding this other level to it now, where it's like, okay, you actually took out these people who just showed up, who were completely innocent and all of this, who were not even involved in any of it at all. Like, I thought it might have been because, and we even talked about this earlier this week, that, Shauna may have taken out Ben, but it's not Ben, it's these strangers.
Yeah, I think that's a big part of it. They've been able to kind of, talk away how and why they've had to do this to survive. And, this person was chosen by the wilderness. None of that is happening with these two people that I'm just calling the bird watchers, because I feel really confident that that's what's happening after watching Van's reaction, where she was like, oh, it could be this, or it could be bird watchers. Oh, no, it could be the bird watchers.
Yeah.
That this is going to be like their real first decision, where they're just straight murdering two people to be able to cover up their secret. And that's while, eating their friends and all that. It's like, oh yeah, we had to do that. We had to do that. But if it turns out that they are really this close to being able to get out of this place, and they're still acting like this and behaving this way and doing things that they don't need to be doing what they did to Ben, doing what they've done to everybody, eating him, all of this is just straight murder at this point. And there is no excusing it or explaining it away.
No, they already have dinner. They don't need any more food. So they can't justify it through that lens.
They also have animals. At this point, they don't need to be feasting on Ben. It's all just an excuse.
Yeah, it is. And here's where things get really, really complicated further, is that we haven't seen Pit Girl at this point.
No.
And so because we haven't seen Pit Girl, I think it's pretty fair to reckon that, okay, whatever's happening here, they're not going to get out immediately, unless it's a situation where they get out and then they come back. But it just feels like there's more down the line.
Or that's in the present. And I know that that's been a lot of discussion online, that Pit Girl's actually from the present, even though we do see people from the past looking into the pit and stuff like that. But it's very easy that they can just do some fine cutting with that to be like, their inner, young girls are looking over the side, but really they're adults at this point. Like, they can easily story-wise mix that around so that whoever is actually Pit Girl, let's say Callie or somebody else, that it can happen in the present.
If this show can have a talking llama voiced by Vincent Pastore, they can have a splice cut to make us all believe one thing or the other. Now, the big thing I really am focused on now when it comes to this big, we'll call it Birdwatcher reveal, what happens with this tape? Because, okay, clearly somebody in the past got this tape, decided, okay, I'm going to hold on to this. So, because I don't know if this is ever going to be valuable to me. I need to have some sort of leverage. So then it becomes like, okay, who ended up taking this tape?
Yeah. And there's quite a few possibilities because there are people still from the past that we have not seen in the present, but that does not mean that they are not actually there. So who has this tape? Clearly, whenever they end up murdering these people, because that's what we feel like is happening, somebody is going to see that tape and they are going to pocket it.
Yeah, I know it's the most obvious answer right now. It's just I just can't escape it being Melissa. Just because we still haven't seen Hilary Swank, we can hit that refrain again. It's sort of like, okay, well, if this was Walter, and, we certainly have plenty of suspicion about Walter, but if this was Walter who sent it, why is he just doing it now when he's been around a little while? It has to be somebody who feels like there's a deliberate reason to do it now. Like if you wanted to stay and argue that, okay, maybe Walter's in this communication with this person, because we've talked about maybe Walter is a sibling of Melissa, and he's like, okay, now it's the time to do this. I've got all this dirt. I've got all this information. I could buy all of that. The only question I would then have is, okay, well, Melissa has this. Where has she been? Why did she take the tape? And then why does Melissa want revenge this many years later?
Yeah, what happened now to make it that whoever this is either feels left out or they want in or they want to make people pay.
Yeah, because it feels like right now Melissa should be feeling pretty good in the past because Shauna is getting more of a leadership position. She's close to Shauna. Unless the two of them have some really, really terrible falling out, it feels like she's in a better spot in the wilderness than she's really ever been.
Yeah, because let's talk about Coach Ben, how heartbreaking this was, how difficult it was to watch, where he is just begging to just be let go, just kill him. He doesn't want to go through this anymore. He has stopped eating. They're force feeding him. Like, it's just a miserable, horrible situation because they're like, he's the bridge to go home. Like, we have to keep him alive. And that's why for me, I feel like it's, he's the bridge to go home because these bird watchers are showing up. And if they're just wandering the woods, they can't be that far from civilization. And if Ben hadn't died and they weren't hooting and hollering, these two wouldn't have shown up and they never would have known.
I'm still in my feelings about all this with Coach Ben because it's just such a sad way.
It was a hard one.
Yeah, it's a sad way for a character like this to go. Somebody who certainly has their flaws, and we've talked about their flaws and his struggles to really be there for Shauna and some other characters, but he was somebody who was always kind of constantly in over his depth. Like he ended up falling into this job that he did like being a coach. He never thought this was his longtime calling, never expected to go out here and be stuck in the wilderness with all of these people. He already had all these struggles in his life in the real world. I know this is the real world, but you guys get my point. It's just, he's a really tragic character in that way. And I'm at least glad that he went because of the kindness of somebody where Natalie just realizes, okay, this is just not human anymore. Let's give him a moment of peace. To have it be her who does it, that's the thing that felt the most appropriate about it to me.
I barely got through that force feeding scene, watching him after with just blood coming out of his mouth. Like it was so difficult to watch. I mean, this is a really brutal show, and throughout we're all gonna have our hard hats on for stuff like that. But watching that just broke me apart.
Okay, let's talk about the cabin here because Ben confesses to what happened in the cabin. No, we don't believe him. I mean, let us know in the comments if you do, but that all seemed to be a fabrication. So now I'm going to raise another question. Did the bird watcher start the fire at the cabin?
No.
I think the answer is that's no too, but the reason I'm going in all this is that the people who are the Yellowjackets out there right now. Like, they're probably thinking, okay, you know what? We got to take these people out. Ben's gone. But I kind of wonder, are they all going to just move forward past the cabin at this point? Like, are they all going to actively be thinking about it anymore? Because even if they don't believe deep down that Ben's the one who did it, is it easier to just sort of accept that, okay, he must have done it than actually trying to figure it out?
I feel like we're going to get an answer on who actually did it. I feel like they're not going to just leave that out in the ether. I mean, even when they were all hooting and hollering and
Yeah.
Lottie looked over and saw a shadow and was kind of like, Ben, I was like, is that actually one of the two bird watchers, or is she seeing somebody else who's out there? Because we have theorized that maybe the person who burnt down the cabin was somebody who just was also in the woods and wasn't with them.
It's Jason Ritter, everybody.
All
No,
right.
I'm joking, but I'm not. 'Cause,
I
like,
know.
it's the thing is that, you know, he's a really accomplished actor. He's on Matlock now. He's been on
Absolutely.
a lot of other things. Like, I know he's married to Melanie Linsky, and
Mhm.
it's like they have that connection or whatever. But I just think you're not going to bring Jason Ritter onto this show for however long he is for a role that's just of zero consequence.
Right.
So to me, it feels a lot like, okay, he's the person behind the cabin, and what they're going to do now is they probably filmed this bonus episode with him thinking, okay, after season 2, it makes sense to air it. I think they changed their mind at some point and we're just like, okay, the show is evolving. We will save this. We're going to have some sort of reveal in the final episodes about him, and then we're going to air the bonus episode after season 3 to give more context. And I think he might have some sort of important role next season. I don't know how, because like I said, he's on Matlock. I don't know how you balance those shows out, but I just think that's not the person who was seen out there. I think they're trying to sort of make us think that maybe it was the bird watchers when it's not.
Yeah. Okay, let's get into the present
Yes.
and the weakest part of the season.
Uh-huh.
However, I will say that what is going on with Van is the most interesting part to me right now, because it feels like watching her get that call from a phone that's not connected to anything, like it feels like she's having a bit of a break at this point, because she's really been diving into time being like, our friend is dead and you're over here getting massages and ordering lobster. Like, what is actually going on with you over here? And Ty's like, this is how I'm coping. And as a former funeral director, it's true. People do cope in all different kinds of ways. Sometimes it is self-care, anger, sadness, denial. It's all kinds of different things. Van's kind of believing it, but when she gets that phone call and it sounds like it's Ty, her actual self being like, help me, help me. And then you see Ty that we have now. This has been floating around for a little while now, that the person that's with Van right now is sort of her darker self. But, is it or is it not?
The one case I'll make for it right now that it's her darker self is that that darker self seems to be very much all id in a lot of ways, and sort of acting impulsively, doing things emotionally, making big moves. And, what's a big move quite like ordering every single thing off room service known to mankind, even though I know it's ridiculous.
Lobsters and massages. It is. It's feed your id.
Yeah, it's something like that. So I think there's a pretty interesting parallel that's going on there. But I think Van needs to figure out more things for Van in terms of what she wants. Like, this is the discussion that I've seen happen a lot over this past week is, what sort of storylines does Van have outside of Ty? And I like watching that relationship, but at the same time, I want to know more about Van herself and Van making some more decisions when it comes to, okay, I'm in this spot where my health has been compromised for a long time. I'm getting kind of suspicious of Ty, whatever Ty is doing at all these points. Now I'm also trying to help with this, solve this thing that's going on with the tape. I just think she needs to have a pretty proactive role on things moving forward, because she's smart. I don't think she's compromised in the same way of Ty, where we don't know what side of Ty it is, or, Shauna, who we know is very dangerous, and Misty, who is doing her citizen detective work, and she's not doing it terribly all the time, but I just think Van is a rational person, and if she did go down the road of wanting answers, I think she could figure some things out.
And speaking of getting some answers, welcome back to the show, Lisa.
Hello.
I really was very curious how this story ended for Lisa.
Yeah.
Like, does she have a happy ending? Not a happy ending? What's going on? We learned that Lottie actually took out that 50,000 and gave it to Lisa as like a tip. And it was really nice to hear that after everything that Lisa went through at the compound, all of that, giving up all her worldly possessions, how badly it went for her, that Lottie did try to do the right thing. But tinfoil hat, it's making me wonder if Lottie knew she was actually going to die, because it did feel like she's like, we saw her in the mirror being like, I'm sorry. No, I'm really sorry. And really wanted to give seemingly a genuine apology to somebody. And I'm assuming that that person is Lisa, where she's like, here's the tip for this, the $50,000. I'm really sorry for what I did to you. But the biggest information that came out of this to me, besides seeing that Lisa at least got $50,000 out of this, is that Ty did meet up with Lottie before she died.
Yeah, she did. And that's a pretty big clue. Now, does it mean that Ty did it? Not necessarily, but it means that she met up, and that's important. And if Lottie is, this spiritual person where we can debate all this much about, was she really in connection with the wilderness or not? She might have had some sort of inkling that something was going to happen. Like, I did try to think for a while of, okay, what if she was saying this because she wanted to apologize for Melissa, and Melissa ends up being the person who takes her out? But at the same time, we don't know why she would apologize to Melissa. So I kind of feel like the Melissa part of it, the apology part of it, is probably for Lisa, and that it might just be a red herring to sort of throw us off the scent here. Because if this is Hillary Swank that's being introduced, and I still can't believe we're saying this, they're clearly saving her reveal for a pretty opportune time. And sort of that reveal of seeing her on the show is going to be so big that it sort of supersedes a lot of the other evidence that's out here, or the apology, or anything else. And there's a very specific reason. And yeah, it's possible that Hillary Swank was able to do all this because she got some information from Lisa or somebody else or Walter, but those are connections they can sort of play with down the road.
They really hyped up Hillary Swank and Joel McHale being on this show. It is episode 6.
Yeah.
Where are they? Where are they?
Okay. I have tried for a while now to sort of figure out who Joel McHale is going to be playing, because I'm a huge Community fan. I'm a big Joel McHale fan. I like, even from The Bear, we've seen that Joel McHale can do drama, and he can do drama really, really well.
Yes.
Joel McHale's clearly not one of the bird watchers. I looked at him and I was like, you're not Joel McHale at all.
No way.
And so I'm still out there just kind of confused about who he could be, because there's no obvious person in the present. But yeah, the Hillary Swank part of it, like, that feels obvious that it's something we need to get information on, and soon. Otherwise, this hype is just going to be just falling apart on me.
Yeah, absolutely. Okay, let's get into sort of the Callie and Jeff and Shauna. She's got the tape. She's, they all know about the tape, but she's, as much as they're like, listen, we need to be a family unit and we need to figure it all out together, and knows that Jeff knows quite a bit now. Callie, we think, knows quite a bit because she was with Lottie, and seemingly she knows more than she's letting on. Callie is trying to record whatever's going to be on the tape. Shauna finds out about it, but Shauna is still lying to them and sneaking around. And I understand why, but at this point it's getting really frustrating.
Yes.
Because it feels like her family has her back no matter what she has done.
Yeah, it seems like Callie's doing pretty well, all things considered, given everything with Lottie earlier this season. I wasn't sure what they were going to be setting her up to do, unless they're doing some big secret twist later where she ends up going behind people's backs and finding out information. And maybe that is how we connect all of it to the Callie is Pit Girl, and those things are all edited and spliced together theory. But there's none of that happening on screen at this point. I think the Shauna story is frustrating because it's really just hitting back on a common TV trope that makes all of us sad, because we've all seen this for so many years. It's just, having secrets on shows never works. There's never anything good that comes from it. And yes, do I think that Callie and or Jeff would be horrified to hear about everything that Shauna has done? Probably. But they already know that she's capable of some dark things. It's like they're probably going to find some stuff out anyway? Like, what's the point in all of this?
Secrets are no fun.
Secrets
Hurt someone.
See, there you go. That's exactly what it is. And I'm just also feeling extra sad about this because I love Jeff. I think Jeff is just so weird, but also supportive, and he's just a really interesting character.
Yeah, I mean, he's done some terrible things as well. Like,
Yeah.
he's not a saint in this that's just here, supporting his wife. But at the same time, he is supporting her through a lot of really dark stuff that he knows about now. And it's just, he really does seem to want to be there for her. And Callie as well seems to really want to be part of the family unit. And if Shauna was just able to let them in, I think she'd be much better off. But at this point, she really is just kind of going to self-preservation mode, which is what she was like in the past, and
Yep.
it is what she is like in the present. She just can't stop getting, in front of herself.
Well, sometimes people, it's really hard for them to change, but now let's give some applause to
Mm-hmm.
Misty. Because look at you, Misty. You have gotten some information
Yep.
together. You have been able to use Thirsty Dude to your advantage when it comes to the DNA. And it
Yep.
feels like we might actually be getting somewhere with her and actually getting a real clue.
And actually getting somewhere with the her and Walter of it all. I really enjoyed seeing the two of them working together last season, like a lot. I
Yeah.
really liked it. These two actors together, they just have really amazing chemistry. And I don't just mean like romantically, like it just, their back and forth is so good. So having them not have that back and forth this season, I've definitely missed it. And so the idea that she got this DNA and she's like, okay, well, now what do I do with it?
Yeah.
I don't know. I'll send it to Walter. I'm like, yes, let's just get them, even
Yeah.
if they don't want to work together, let's just get them working together.
Yeah, I think Misty just needs to realize, okay, should I trust Walter 100%? No, but Walter clearly has some affection towards me. He wants to feel
Yes.
useful. He wants to feel helpful. Maybe this is something that will be mutually beneficial for both of us. And if there's a problem with Walter, I can deal with that later.
Yeah, grab thirsty Walter, deal with it like you just dealt with thirsty DNA guy. Like there's a lot of people thirsting after Misty.
Really is. Well, good for you, I guess, Misty. But all right, that's where we are on Yellowjackets season 3, episode 6. But thank you guys for hanging out with us. Let us know in the comments. Do you think that these bird watchers are just going to be off in like a matter of seconds and then we're not going to see them again? Who do you think has the tape? What do you think's going on there? Let us know in the comments. Hit that subscribe button. Great way to make sure you don't miss any more coverage. Also, you can support us further by joining our Patreon. That link is in the description. We're covering exclusively in video form The Pit, Bosch Legacy. The final season is coming up. We'll see you here next time.